Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the pain no one really talks about, the unspoken truth of why you might feel completely unseen, even when you're standing right in the middle of a crowded room. We are unpacking the psychology behind why people ignore you. Because honestly, what you're about to learn, it might completely change how you see yourself, and ultimately, how everyone else sees you.
Have you ever walked into a room and just somehow felt invisible? Not because people couldn't literally see you, but because no one seemed to actually notice you. It's a heavy, sinking feeling, right? And usually, it doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in through a series of tiny, quiet moments.
It starts off small. You know the feeling? You try to connect with a warm smile, but you get absolutely nothing back. Just a blank stare, or maybe their eyes dart away quickly, leaving you hanging in that super awkward silent space.
Or maybe it happens at work, or when you're out with friends. You finally gather the courage to share a thought, to jump into the conversation, and someone instantly talks right over you, as if your words had literally zero weight. You might laugh it off in the moment, but let's be real. Deep down, it stings.
And of course, it happens digitally too. You send a text, and then you just watch the hours tick by without a reply. They leave you on read. That's when that little voice pops into your head, quietly asking, "Wait, what's wrong with me?" You start comparing yourself to the person who walks in and instantly has everyone laughing, asking yourself, why them, and why not me? Well, let's dive into this. It is so incredibly easy to jump to conclusions and think you're being ignored because you're just not attractive enough, not smart enough, not rich enough, or maybe you think you just aren't interesting enough. But psychology, it tells a completely different story. The truth is, feeling invisible usually has absolutely nothing to do with any of those things.
Section 1. The pain of invisibility, when words have no weight.
To really understand this, we first have to look at the very real hurt caused by being overlooked by friends, colleagues, or people we love. Psychologists call this exact feeling social exclusion. And here's the thing, it leaves emotional wounds that can quietly shape your entire personality for years. Without even realizing it, this can turn you into a chronic people pleaser or make you emotionally distant, trying to convince yourself you just don't need anyone anyway.
Now this is truly fascinating. Your brain processes being socially rejected almost the exact same way it reacts to getting physically hurt. Think about that for a second. Your brain literally doesn't always know the difference between taking a physical hit and being ignored. That is exactly why being left out or ghosted hurts so profoundly.
Moving on to Section 2, the evolutionary need, why rejection feels like literal danger.
Long before social media even existed, our ancient ancestors depended entirely on belonging to the group just to survive. For them, acceptance literally equaled protection, and rejection? Well, that meant certain death. Because of this, even today, your brain is hardwired to treat any form of social exclusion as a massive threat to your actual survival.
Because of this deep evolutionary wiring, when someone ignores you, your nervous system doesn't just casually think, "Oh, they must not like me." No, it whispers a much darker, repeating thought, "Maybe I'm not enough." And if that thought repeats often enough in your head, it starts to dictate how confidently you speak, whether you apply for your dream job, or if you even believe your own voice deserves to be heard at all.
This perfectly illustrates why even highly successful, super confident people can still feel completely alone, because grabbing superficial attention is completely different from actually feeling valued. You can literally have thousands of followers online and still feel completely ignored by the one person whose opinion matters most to you. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the deep human need to actually matter.
Which brings us to Section 3, value versus perception, debunking the myth of worth.
Here is the absolute crucial point. Being ignored is almost never about your actual inherent value as a person. Instead, psychology shows us it's usually about perception, timing, and subconscious patterns that neither you nor the other person consciously notices. It's not about your intelligence, your appearance, or your worth as a human being. It's about these incredibly powerful psychological mechanisms running in the background.
Picture this. Imagine two strangers walking into a cafe without saying a single word. One walks in slowly, scanning the room anxiously, clearly wondering if people are judging them. The other walks in calmly, entirely focused on where they are going instead of who might be watching. Now watch how the room unconsciously reacts to them differently within minutes. One goes totally unnoticed, and the other just naturally commands respect, all without a single word being exchanged.
Let's look at Section 4, the invisible signals, what you're sending without knowing.
So what's actually happening there?
People's brains form an instant impression based on these totally invisible signals. We're talking about your posture, your pace, your eye contact, your emotional state, and even the tiny pauses between your words, all before you've even finished your sentence. People aren't consciously trying to judge you. This is simply what the human brain evolved to do to quickly assess its environment.
Ultimately, people aren't just responding to the words you say. They're actually reacting to the underlying emotional feeling they get when they are in your presence. That's exactly why one person can say very little and absolutely command an entire room, while another talks endlessly and is entirely ignored. The reality? It isn't that you are invisible. It's that you've been sending signals you never even realized you were sending.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this. As you start to stop chasing attention and learn to manage these signals naturally, ask yourself a really vital question. Is the world actually missing out on the real you? Or are they just missing out on the version of you that has been hiding behind fear?